I'm going to go ahead and bring on Joshi and Magical, who were the casters for last game. Now, you guys have been with me for a little while now. You guys understand what my needs and my wants are. You know, this is a high-profile cast. This is a high-profile moment. And to be able to represent our players well, you guys have some awards that you want to hand out. I don't know the legitimacy of these awards. We'll see how that goes. I'll be the judge. Maybe the audience can judge as well. But on this wonderful French Parisian night, we'll see. We'll see. So first up, if we can get the fellow members on screen eventually, we'll go ahead and have Joshi come on up here. And Joshi, you have the floor, mon ami.
Well,
what is your award? Let's see.
Well, Senor Mazel.
Senor, hold on. We're already going off the end with one
Monsieur.
language. All right.
It's okay. All right, Monsieur. I have an award that I am very excited to give to one of our players, and it is not quite the award you might be expecting, but it is the Welcome Back award for Surdy. He's kind of been missing in week 1, and so I quickly drew this up. If you were asking, yes, I drew all of this, even the cat photos. I couldn't find a picture of Surdy in time, so I went to his Twitter and grabbed a couple of recent photos that he has put up of his cat. But I'm just so excited that we actually have Surdy back, right? We had a really tough time with him last week, and even though this first game is still not the Surdy of old, the fact that we are getting to see him play not only one of his most traditional champions in Camille, but also have reasonable success with it and start to make some plays that he wasn't willing to go for last week, I feel like we're actually getting to see a player kind of for the first time this year.
All right. I like it. Big shout outs to Surdy. I approve. You know, there's cat pics in there. We got the Louvre with some beautiful art behind it. It just goes hand in hand. I mean, it's like the same copy. All right, now, Magical.
Yeah.
We got one more award to give. I'm hoping for some mad. I'm hoping for a little Magical. Let's see what you got.
I feel like I can definitely get you the mad part of this. So, as you can see.
Oh, no, it's detailed.
Yeah. I mean, look, I drew this within like 10 seconds because I didn't realize we were supposed to take the entirety of our break to draw this. So I've been spending the whole time actually just drawing this myself. So as you can see, this is going to go for best alts. And obviously it was the Shockwave because that was the best ult I've seen.
Help me.
Yeah, help me. How could this happen to me? I've made my mistakes, all that stuff. So this goes over to Sligo. That ult, I haven't seen that good of an Orianna Shockwave probably in a while. Like, it was that damn good.
Ooh la la, ça c'est magnifique, ça c'est l'art. But good job, Magical. I like it. Yours is gonna go right up next to that Surdy piece in our storied hall of halls.
Does it go on the fridge? Did I do it?
No, is the fridge the entire Louvre? Because if so, you made it on the fridge. Well, as you see, we're having success here in France. But closing time is coming up, so I gotta go, guys. It's been a long day.
What time is it in France, anyways?
I don't. It's nighttime. You see the night, okay? Goodbye.
What?
Au revoir.
What time?
Adieu. Vas-y.
Adios.
I do. Also a very good first word in Wordle.
I don't get Wordle still.
It's okay. All you need to do is it's got a lot of vowels in it, and that is the most important thing in the world, is just having a lot of vowels in order to make sure you know what kind of words you're going for. But ultimately, with Monsieur Perspective Académique, now that I've butchered another language, is I think we've had a lot of great opportunities to showcase art throughout today, and I'd really like to thank the Monsieur from France to come in and showcase what it really is that we've been missing here on Academy.
What is it we've really been missing on Academy? Oh.
Art. Mon ami.
You're learning French already? Is that what you've been spending the breaks doing?
Look, I've just been like repeating whatever I've heard him say that I could like piece out as like an individual word, and
That's
if I say it again,
dangerous.
then ultimately
you don't
it
know
must
what
be
he's
right.
saying if you're just repeating back what he's saying. He could be saying something very foul and you don't know it.
If it's anything like high school, I guarantee it means
That's what I'm
something
saying.
horrendous. But we're not gonna go. We're not gonna go back and figure that out. I can already do that in a couple of other languages. But it looks like we are going to be bringing at least somebody back. I wonder if it's the same
doubt
guy.
it. It's probably someone brand new that we've never seen before on this entire broadcast, right? Right?
Hard to imagine. That we
Oh
could find
man!
new people to
Oh
bring
man!
in.
Oh man! Oh! I was gonna get up and leave and just not be here when you got back to me. I just got in. I was taking care of some personal stuff, but I'm glad you guys held it down. I don't know who you had on. I don't know. Does that joke even work?
Did you get me a baguette?
I feel like I look too much like the person that was on here. Anyways, twins.
It's okay. You'll see glasses next time.
For sure.
It'll full mark.
But we do really got to talk about this series because game one, definitely not the way the FlyQuest Academy wanted it to go. And I've had high hopes for this squad, right? They have a lot of strong pieces, just not being able to show that on the Rift so far. So going into game two, what's your motivational speech here for the squad? What do you got, guys? Because we need to see it come back in halftime.
Magical, you want to start?
Don't go near Oriana Ball or Jarvan, so you don't get shockwaved.
Okay.
And that's about it, because that game was rough. They were clawing it back, and it was looking pretty good out of them. But it was literally that flag drag combo with the shockwave on top of it that completely ended that game. That doesn't happen. FlyQuest probably win this game. That fight was even
As
a little
was
bit
told by your beautiful drawing.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way.
Yeah,
As was
best
told.
ults I've seen in a while award. That goes to Soligo easily.
I think the biggest thing that we gotta come down to here is, look, FlyQuest. We've had all 5 members of you come up with a different highlight at different points throughout the 5 games that we've seen so far of you. Let's just all do it at the same time. I know you guys are capable of it. You
He's
guys
not
have all
wrong.
popped off. If you guys can all have like that one game at the same time, I don't even know if some of the top table teams would be able to contest with it, but it doesn't feel like any single game has had all of them show up to play at the exact same time. And so if they can figure out what it is and they can all get in the same mindset and find some synergy as to when they're going to start fights, I think this team can actually be a lot better than what they've shown so far.
I like it. Well, and the other side kind of keep going with what you got at this point because EGA looking mighty fine there. I got to throw out some special appreciation to my boy SkyTech. I love to see him in the bot lane, finding a lot of comfort on those picks, but as well as seemingly finding an in with the team, right? And fitting in beautifully on that kind of strategy they like to accomplish.
Hey, it looks like he's really working well with Kaori. Both of them are allowed to play aggressively in lane. It seems like they're on the same page. And when you look back towards how SkyTech was on Evil Genius's Prodigies, he wasn't the most aggressive laner. But it seems like with Kaori, he feels like he's enabled. He can do whatever he wants because he knows Kaori will back him up.
That's so important, right? Just having a bot lane that has a lot of synergy and wants to play the same way in the lane gives you a lot more freedom to go for these kind of plays. And we've already seen Kaori being really aggressive a lot of the time. We saw him go for some solo kills a couple of times. They weren't always working out, but he was always going for them. And that's the kind of thing that you like to see when you have an aggressive
Well,
player.
hey, guys, we'll have to see how it all pans out in our second half. The final game of the day is right around the corner. Take it away, fellas.
Well, we got this last game of the day to go through. It is going to be exciting to see how these teams bounce back, because it was a rough game back and forth for both teams. EG, it looked like they were almost down and out, then the shockwave happened. For FlyQuest, I just am hoping that when they go into this next game, they're going to remain on blue side, and I honestly just want to see them have a little bit more confidence when it comes to their lane phase, especially because you look top lane, Felt was able to get that solo kill on Surdy early, but then it kind of fell apart when Surdy was able to join with the team.
And we are, in fact, going to be seeing FlyQuest remaining on the blue side here as we are loading into Champion Select. We see some similar bans coming through across the board, and I'm expecting to see very similar styles of compositions kind of coming through. I really like the fact that both teams seem to have clear identities, and the biggest thing was just making sure that you're able to play in such a way that allows you to actually exert the strengths of your composition while denying the strengths of the opponent.
For the side of Evil Genius's Academy, I almost said Prodigies, my bad. They have gone for the triple marksman ban again. They've banned the same 3 things on the red side, but the same has been true for FlyQuest. They've banned away Akali, Specifically LeBlanc, and it looks like they might lock in. Oh, so they lock in the Victor first as opposed to grabbing Diamond that Thresh.
I have to feel like that makes a lot of sense, right? Even with the Thresh coming through, and it's something that Diamond has been very good at, the Thresh wasn't necessarily the most impactful thing. It saved them a couple of times, yes. It allowed them to get away with some things that they wouldn't have previously been able to do, but it didn't necessarily allow them to have a strong enough front line. They didn't really have anybody who could stand in front and allow them to create space. The Xin Zhao, unfortunately, was not strong enough, and you need a little bit of redundancy in order to make sure you can keep yourself alive.
This time, again, we see that it's Lee Sin that has been left open. The teams don't seem to have as much priority as we've seen others have. And this was a pick that I actually wanted to see. The Ezreal that was left open completely by FlyQuest last lane. They went for that Varus with the Thresh in the bot lane, but I much prefer this one right here. The mid-game to late-game capabilities he has adds a lot more for FlyQuest.
You can also build the Crown of the Shattered Queen on Ezreal, and we see the Xin Zhao coming through again, and I think it makes a little bit more sense this time, simply because you already have this backline who is a little bit more self-sufficient than they were on the Varus. Varus was a little bit tougher in order to actually peel for it, and that's why they needed the Thresh, whereas Ezreal allows you to pick things that don't need to create as much peel. He creates his own space.
And it gives him a lot more to be able to utilize in the spot lane, a lot more safety, possibly even, if depending on what they want to grab for Diamond, they could even grab something a little bit more aggressive if they want to, such as maybe the Nautilus that we've sometimes seen into the spot lane. It would be rough, especially dependent on what SkyTech wants to run the spot lane, if they want to go for the run back of Jhin Karma. But here, it does add a lot to the team when it comes to how FlyQuest can play around it.
The Karma, I think, is definitely on the table for Evil Geniuses if they do want to pick it up. Right? It gives you the movement speed to enable Jarvan to run really quickly. It gives you extra shield. And as soon as I say that, they ban it away. So ultimately, it doesn't matter what Karma was actually going to be able to provide. I'm a little bit surprised that Evil Geniuses are the one who are actually going to be banning it here, because it does change what they're able to do and where they're going to be able to create a little bit more power for everybody else on their teams. And
things seem backwards right here. Karma banned by Evil Geniuses, Renekton banned by FlyQuest. I guess it kind of does make sense when you look at FlyQuest. They need to kind of ban that away because Surdy could easily grab that before they could get it, right? You don't necessarily want such a powerful pick to go into the hands of the Evil Geniuses, especially when they have stuff like Jhin, Jarvan, and Orianna. Things that are going to do well, especially the free ball delivery service that you have out of a Jarvan, then the follow-up capabilities that Renekton can do when following the Jarvan engage.
I hear what you're saying, Magical, but I also feel like you have a team that already punishes.
I'm trying to justify it, man. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, it is always a powerful lane pick, right? So if you're trying to allow Jhin and Orianna to be really powerful later on in the game, Renekton is a great bridge in order to allow them to be.
Yes, Yumi's going to be the final ban for the side of FlyQuest Academy, allowing maybe this Rakan pick to come in for Evil Geniuses. More engaged capabilities in the spot lane. We've already seen that SkyTech was able to do a pretty good job, even on the Karma. If you look back to last week too, how he follows up Tomio, this allows a lot more pressure to have a secondary engage tool besides just having the Jarvan.
Yeah, I really like the Rakan as well. Allows you to have another redundant engage tool for Orianna and the Jarvan. You get one, you're able to easily set up all the others. And so with Philip going back towards the Jace once again, we're seeing a very similar style of composition coming out from FlyQuest. Now, the big thing that they're kind of missing is an easy way to get fights started, and Shen can do that, but instead they're going to be doubling down on trying to kite back.
I was about to say, we've also seen that Janna, the adjustment she got on 12-2 has kind of made her really powerful when you run things like Glacial Augment, and this denies a lot of that engage capability that you have for Tomio and SkyTech. It's a lot harder for them to actually reliably get into the backline because all you have to do, you don't even have to have the fully channeled Tornado. Just a basic Tornado is automatically going to get this massive zone of control. Then the Monsoon on top of it also adds a lot.
They're doubling down as well. Evil Genius is going with a very similar comp to the one we saw previously. The only thing they're changing is Karma has transformed into Rakan, and on the opposite side of the map, we're seeing a different bottom lane coming through from FlyQuest. Ezreal and Janna this time around instead of the Varus and the Thresh. So they're going to be a little bit safer And I feel like Evil Geniuses almost forgot that this pick existed in a lot of ways, right? It hasn't been popular in the competitive meta for ages at this point. And on 12-2, the first time when it has been not just competitively viable, but strong, exceedingly strong, FlyQuest are going to be the first ones to pull it out on the board. And they are trying to make sure that they do not end up dropping a 6-game straight. They are still looking for their first win. And Janna, great way to do it.
They've been so close in a couple of these games, just inches
close.
away from getting these victories. You look at the first day, their first game of the 2022 split, and they nearly had that game. It was so close, but unfortunately they just fell short. Then you look to the last game, another one, just inches away from the finish line, but it was pulled out by Evil Geniuses Academy to allow them to take this game going into this one. You know, they're not the only teams that have kind of forgotten about Janna. We kind of talked about it at the very beginning of the day, but we definitely haven't really been able to talk about it because nobody has picked it throughout this entire day. So seeing Diamond with that champion going into our final game should be really interesting to see how FlyQuest can play around it.
Well, and I think it is going to be very telling the fact that Diamond is already going to be going for the Glacial Augment this time around, making sure that they have the extra damage reduction and the extra slows that does provide. And as we load onto the Rift, we get to see pretty standard stuff across the board other than that, right? I think this is the main focal point that we're going to have to pay a lot of attention to is how effectively can Diamond create space for the rest of his team, because there's a lot of engage coming through from Evil Geniuses, and Diamond is probably the best tool they have to stop it.
It is all going to be on Diamond and how he can play this. You pretty much want to have Tomo, Spyrex, Philip looking to play far forward, looking to see if they can get that bit of chip damage, the poke damage they have from those champions, which means Diamond has to be perfect on disengaging. Whenever he sees Tomio or Skytech looking for the dive into the backline, even Surdy on these flanks, he has to be ready with those tornadoes, with the monsoons, so that nobody can touch his carries.
It's much easier said than done, right? I mean, that's why we were praising the redundant engage tools coming out from Evil Geniuses. You can stop one fairly easily, but you can stop two with some effort. Stopping three is hard.
That's going to be the tricky thing for FlyQuest, and we'll just keep looking at Diamond, how he's able to perform on this Janna. But I also want to keep our eyes on how Surdy plays with this Camille in the lane phase. As we kind of look at them in the top lane, last time he tried to go for the 1v1 fight against Philip and was so close to getting that kill over him, but Philip was able to barely, just barely by the skin of his teeth, turn it around to get his own solo kill. This time I don't think Surdy's going to play nearly as aggressive when it comes to how he wants to look for these early duels.
Only time will tell, though, as we are now shifting our attention to the bottom side of the map. Diamond does have control of this brush, and that just means he can kind of throw these tornadoes with impunity. It's very difficult for Skytech to punish that. And as long as his tornado is on a reasonable cooldown, it becomes very tough for Skytech and Kaori to do anything. Because even once you see this tornado building up, you don't know where it's going.
And that's why Skytech and Kaori are kind of just playing back. They're waiting for that level 2. They knew it was going to come for Tomo and Diamond, even with the engage and the help with the Glacial Augment.
He goes in.
They got to deal with the fact that they got exhausted onto Kaori. It's a lot of damage now thrown back into their face because they're a level down still.
Crazy engage coming through from the side of FlyQuest. Just being able to go forward like that, they end up having to use one of their own summoner spells before Evil Geniuses do, and we've seen how aggressive Evil Geniuses can be. I wonder if that's going to be coming back to bite them in the butt later on, based on how Kaori and Skytech played.
The thing is, it's exhaust. It's not like they used to flash, right? That's not going to be terribly long of a cooldown for them to have to wait out.
Not that long, but it is still an opportunity, right? There's a lot of kill pressure that Rakan and Jin do provide. As long as they have fourth shot available, you can take down pretty healthy targets, relatively speaking. But Yuji, at the same time, now up top lane, Surdy potentially at risk of getting
already level 3 for both Philip and Yuji. They've got the minions to work with as well. Surdy's got to be careful. He's just waiting it out. There's going to be the third talent strike with the knockup as well. First blood not picked up just yet. Finally, Philip takes it. They get a 1-for-1 though. Bot lane, the fight continues. The ignite is ticking on a Diamond, and here's Tomio showing up onto Philip. A level down, but he's got the red buff, blue buff combo to be able to help him out. Chase down Philip, slow him down just a little bit. Philip trying to be able to get away. He goes back in, getting a lot of damage. No, nearly turned it around.
It was close, but just not close enough. At the same time, we saw an engage in the bottom lane. Ignite used by Skytech, and now they're still looking to be aggressive, but without the aggressive summoner spell, it's going to be very difficult for Kaori and Skytech to find a kill. So brawling across the map, but with 2 kills going over to Evil Geniuses, they have to be
One
happy
for
with this outcome.
30 and a 1v2 dive, and then 1 for Tomio, where he can easily walk out of there as well. Good things are already looking bright for the side of Evil Geniuses Academy on the top half of the map.
I didn't see the ward.
Yuji, who was trying to look for another lane to gank, did not spot out that ward that was just outside of the brush.
We've been seeing a lot of very small, like, timing and spacing issues kind of come back to bite people, right? FlyQuest, I mean, they have to know that EG knows they're there, but they don't know how. And that can be just as important coming around, because it means that, you know, if you don't sweep that, if you think that there's a ward somewhere else, you might not be willing to go for a play that would otherwise be good. But Tomio ends up getting spotted on the top side of the map, is going to have to go towards the crab and pick that up so he doesn't fall too far behind
and
Yuji.
speaking about falling behind right now, despite the fact that Surdy was able to get that turnaround kill in the top lane with the help of the turret, he's down pretty significantly in CS. You can see that Philip, with that serrated Dirk, is able to get a lot of control over Surdy so far, especially because Surdy only has that Sheen. Not really going to be too much, especially when Philip just goes in and trades like that.
It's very difficult for Surdy to do much about that, but this lane gets a lot better, or rather this matchup gets a lot better. It's hard to call it a lane by the time it really gets better, but Philip, because they were able to get that early kill, denied a lot of experience to Surdy, and now he's going to be forced to teleport back after missing quite a bit of CS previously. But now he has the Sheen, so he can actually trade reasonably as long as he can get his keys off.
At least reasonably, but he still has to deal with the fact that there's a good amount of damage. He's getting shoved under the turret again by Philip, who can easily recall himself, try to go for a cheater recall, and he has a large lead over Surdy. It's going to be some time before we really see Surdy be able to wrestle some of this control away from Philip. We kind of saw this last game, too. It required a little bit of help coming in from Tomio. The bot lane's kind of what I want to focus on, because right there you can see, you talked about that 4th crit from Kaori. How difficult that's going to be able to deal with for the side of FlyQuest. But we got to pause, unfortunately, before we see anything further.
I think I know what that pause was about, right? We saw that Diamond kind of standing still there, not necessarily moving as quickly as we were expecting him to. And so I wonder if there's a bit of a latency issue there coming out for FlyQuest. But ultimately, nothing really matters. And yeah, we do get very quick confirmation. Diamond had a quick disconnect during that bit of a scuffle, and it does mean that they're going to pause in the middle of that to make sure that Diamond doesn't end up giving a kill that he would not have given up if he wasn't having
exactly. So hopefully we'll be able to get that sorted here in just a moment. But in the meantime, it gives us a little bit of time to dissect what both teams can do to really win this game. Because unlike the previous series we've seen thus far in this night, we haven't really seen the coin flip fight between the junglers. We already saw that in games 1, or the series 1 and series 2 in our second games. Here, it's 6 minutes into the game. And that seems like eons compared to what we've seen in our previous game 2s.
For sure, and we saw like a small scuffle where Tomio was able to get a kill and only an assist going over to Yuji. So, you know, it's a very small coin, but it's still not necessarily going to mean a whole lot of difference just quite yet. I'm expecting we're not going to have the same kind of just raw fighting in this game as we have in a lot of our previous ones, simply because based on the way that Evil Geniuses and FlyQuest have been playing, they've been playing a lot slower. They've been playing a lot more of a macro style of game, trying to get to places first, poking people off, and playing this cat and mouse with the poke composition versus the engage one.
And for some time, probably going to be FlyQuest just trying to play passively and not really look for too much too, right? I don't expect to see them try to make these flashy plays. They tried in the top lane. It was okay, but I don't expect too much of that.
Yeah. I do want to draw like a distinction there. Like, you know, you use the word passive. I really like to think of it as active defense, right? Being passive and not
in my
doing
mind,
that's
that passive.
You're not really
you look
making
for
plays.
fights all the time, Josh.
You know, I'm much more of a positional player. I always look for ways that you can find plays in different ways, right? You know, you can make a play by denying your opponent like 3 waves. Suddenly, that's half a level. You do that twice, that's a full level.
That's boring, though. I want aggression. I want nonstop action. That's what I'm here for. Yeah.
Just fighting.
Yeah.
Nonstop. Do you have like a pillow and a blanket like between fights?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of what I
I mean,
imagined. Just like, oh,
I'm standing right now, but usually when you're talking, sometimes I just nod off and like fall on the ground.
wow, ouch.
Well, look, when you're talking, it's usually when fights aren't happening.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, the other thing I was kind of expecting was like in your notebook. There's probably a lot of doodles.
You'd be surprised at the lack of doodles in this notebook. Yeah,
Lack
I
of
mean,
doodles.
it's more
Yeah.
because I'm just like waiting for the fight, and I'm just hoping that something will happen. But usually I'm just kind of like.
Well, hopefully we won't be disappointing you for too long as we still have this pause continuing. The other thing that I would kind of like to turn our attention to, other than the fact that Philip is again looking pretty good up in this top lane for now, is the fact that Saligo in the mid lane has also built up a pretty large lead. And we didn't draw attention to this while the gameplay was actually happening, but he is up about 20 CS already, and both the mid laners have expended their teleports, so it's just kind of a natural consequence of how these two have been laning
It's
so far.
something that we didn't really get to see too much of last game, where Spyrex tries to play aggressively, as you do with Victor into Orianna level 1. Usually even Victor's level 1 want to play aggressively, but sometimes that can backfire. In this game, Sligo was able to get the better end of that trade, forcing an early TP, so he could get a recall, get his own TP off, and come back with not only the Amplifying Tome, but also a Doran's Ring on top of that wall. Spyrex kind of just sitting on the Mana Crystal, got an Amp Tome, not going to have nearly enough to really fight back reliably against Sligo.
So the big thing that we're kind of expecting to see this erupt into is probably going to be some kind of mid lane 2v2, right? Jarvan plus Orianna is a very natural combination once both of them have their ultimates, or at least once Saligo has their ultimate, whereas UG Spyrex is mostly just two reasonably strong early game champions with the Xin Zhao and the Victor trying to be aggressive and put damage onto the right character. And ultimately, it really comes down to a lot of execution, who goes in first and who doesn't have cooldowns when the other jungler is able to come into the fight. And so far, I mean, Saligo being up 20 CS, kind of apropos of nothing, just makes it super, super dangerous for FlyQuest, because we already saw you gave Saligo the best ult
and
award.
also we even look at how there's a difference between Tomio and Yuji at the moment. There is a bit of an experience lead coming in for Tomio. The fact that not only does he have one camp over his opponent, but getting that kill too. The fact that that worked out a lot better for the side of Evil Genius, despite the fact that Surdy died ultimately in the fight, he was able to at least make it a 1-for-1, and then Tomio shows up to make it a 2-for-1. They get a lot of advantages from that, and allows a lot more pressure to be exerted from Tomio.
I think the big thing that we have to know as to why that comes around, Magical, is the fact that solo kills for the past, I believe, 2 years have just been worth a whole lot more experience than they were previously in order to try and make laning a little bit more impactful. So even though Philip got the kill as well, not going to be having the same kind of early game experience lead based off of that. It's more just been on the fact that he's been denying so many waves from Surdy. And Surdy, I mean, again, welcome back. I feel like the fact that he stayed alive and got his passive in the middle of that dive to buy the extra time means that, you know, UG was going to go down for that play, but the game's not over. Camille's a late game scaling champion, and despite the fact that Surdy was not pushing very heavily last time, I think should probably be okay to do it this
and
time
we
around.
even have to talk about Saligo on the Orianna, how that's a champion that scales up pretty well into the game too. We saw the Shockwave, the amount of damage it could do last game, plus how impactful one good Shockwave can be. One good Shockwave can literally win your entire game.
I feel like we also have to look at the fact that, you know, with all of these good scaling characters, with the Orianna, the Victor scales well, the Jhin scales well, Ezreal scales well, there will also be a lot more to look at in terms of like who's actually not scaling well, and it's kind of no one. Like Jace is pretty decent late game. Xin Zhao and Jarvan have guaranteed usefulness late game, and both the Janna and the Rakan also have things that make sure that they are always going to be relevant no matter what the state of the game is.
It looks like the pause is going to be a little bit longer, so we have a good replay that we can actually toss to and kind of look at how this game has been so far and really look at what's been going on. Because even though it's only been 6 minutes into the game, we might as well really just kind of break down everything so that way, with this long pause, you're not forgetting everything.
Yeah, I know Twitch chat tends to have a short memory, so we're going to try and refresh you a little bit on what we're actually going for. It is going to be the dive up here in the top lane as FlyQuest go for this. And I really like the patience that they have here to actually go for it. Unfortunately, they were just a little bit too patient. They allowed Surdy to build up his passive once again. Whenever he auto-attacks somebody, he gets an adaptive shield based on the kind of damage they do, and blocking a full auto attack and a half this early on in the game is enough to buy enough time. Yuji, I believe, could have flashed out of that if they had killed him just a split second.
This is a long pause right now, Josh.
Long pause.
I don't know. It's like we've only had six minutes of gameplay, so it's hard to really fully break down exactly how this game's going to go, as well as what we've seen, especially because it's been a pretty slow night. So instead of doing a lot of that, I kind of just want to go over what's happened so far throughout our entire day, where we've had a lot of 2-0s. I mean, this is interesting too. Even on the other stream, I believe both series were 2-0s. I think it was Team Liquid Academy getting a 2-0 and CLG Academy getting a 2-0. So we've been seeing a lot of that throughout our entire night. We saw that last week on day 2 as well, but here it's repeating further.
Yeah, I can confirm that looking across. We are seeing that if Evil Geniuses win this, it will be all 2-0s today. 5 decisive results, just like as you said on Thursday. But it's interesting to see who has been winning. Dignitas won today, but lost last week. Team Liquid won today, but lost last week. Hundred Thieves and CLG both got their decisive results last time as well. And Evil Geniuses now posed to turn around their fortunes from Thursday. And it's a very different week so far already from what we were saying before. And notably, Immortal is the team that on paper were the best team in the league, now no longer hold that crown. That has been gifted over to Hundred Thieves Academy and CLG, who are both 5-1.
See, I was about to say, don't forget about CLG. CLG were the ones to get the 2-0, but it was a close-fought battle between the two teams. The Immortals, even though they do lose 2-0, it's not like they're out of the race or the running just yet. This is a team that we have to keep our eyes on. Same with the 100 Thieves, same as CLG when it comes to how they're going to perform throughout the rest of the week, as well as the rest of the split. But then when you look at the two teams that we have here while we're in the pause for them, FlyQuest Academy, Evil Genius Academy, they have to turn around their fortunes so far, because Evil Geniuses, with that win they got just in this last game, they still need to make sure they're getting a 2-0 if they want to have a good running for the rest of the split. While for FlyQuest, they've got to turn this around. They've got to see how they can come together as a unit. And you talked about it best. They need to find these great plays they've been having together. Not just one at a time at random sparse intervals. They need to all be coming together as one team.
Well, we'll see that. I mean, I feel like this kind of composition is their coach's way of trying to figure out how they can get them to play together. And one of the interesting ways that I often talk about, trying to get a team to work together, is you come up with a very simple win condition, and that is everybody presses R at the same time. And that is a little bit of what we're seeing coming out from Evil Geniuses. But from FlyQuest, it's kind of the opposite. It's kind of like, well, just kite, right? Just fall back. And it means that you don't necessarily need to rely on the one person finding the right engage. You just, whenever your opponent goes in, you just assume they made a mistake and slowly whittle them down as they come in. You create a funnel. And they did that, for the most part, very well last game until the one time they made a mistake. And that's the thing, is it's not necessarily easy to play,
I wouldn't even say it was
very
a
effective
mistake.
as long
I think
as
it was just more EG realizing what they needed to do to win. We talked about that before, that Evil Genius's composition was about not letting them get whittled down. They had to force a fight before full control was gained by FlyQuest, and they did that. Barely, but they did it. And with that one good flag drag shockwave combo, it was able to end the game from there.
Well, we are getting word right now that we are going to be shifting into a chrono break. So we are going to be resetting to a prior point in this game based on the disconnect. So it is going to be a little bit of a longer break while we wait for that process to go through and for the chrono break to catch up to where we are going to be rewinding to. So I imagine it's not going to be too far back in time, because as far as I can tell, Diamond only DC'd seconds before this moment, but it would be very tough considering Diamond put himself in a very awkward spot.
I mean, it was an awkward spot, so hopefully it's going to be something that can get resolved pretty quickly. Chrono breaks, we just got to make sure that we're getting to the point just a little bit before. Like I said, it's pretty early into the game as well. Hopefully it's not going to be too difficult to actually have this work out. But in the meantime, we're just trying to figure out how we want to be able to take this, where we want to be able to go, how long it's going to be for all the viewers out there. And hopefully it's not going to be too long, right? That's always one of the problems with the chrono breaks is, well, it's good to have because you don't want to have a situation like there where we saw Diamond about to die because he disconnected. We want to make sure also that it's not taking too long so the players don't forget what's going on the Rift.
That's always a big thing, right? Whenever you have a long pause as a player, you just kind of sit there and you have to kind of maintain your energy so that when you jump in, you're not jumping from, hot to cold or cold to hot all of a sudden. You kind of got to gradually move yourself in, and it's really taxing mentally. We are going to toss a break
so that way we can figure out this chrono break. It's hopefully not going to be too long, like I said, and with it being really early into the game, it's not going to be something that's going to be too terrible, hopefully. Like I said, it's one of those things we just got to figure out. We got to figure out how long the break's going to be, where we want to go back into this game, because there has been certain things where you look at the 2 kills topside for EG, but you also look at the kill over for FlyQuest. This is stuff you don't want to fully reset, so keep around for just a little bit longer. We're going to be right back. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Sorry about the break. It looks like we're getting everything resolved. The Chrono break, knock on wood, was successful. We had a couple of connection issues, network issues here and there, but it looks like we're getting it all resolved, and we're about to jump back into our final game of the day, Josh.
We are, and hopefully we won't see the same kind of crazy nonsense that we were seeing before, where Diamond just stops moving in the middle of a fight, and from there we will be able to continue playing out the game. And as it looks like, we should be in a good spot at this point. We are, in fact, going right back to the spot immediately before that little bit of a skirmish.
Perfect. Because like I was saying before, we had to do it. You saw how Diamond was. He was positioned where he was either going to have to flash or he was going to die. There was no ifs, ands, or buts around it, so I totally understand the need and necessity for having a Chrono break right there. When we jump back in, looks like everything is pretty much stock standard right now. Nothing too crazy, just going for the basic paths at the moment. You can see that Philip was able to get a recall off. He's got his tier now built up, but it's going to take quite some time for it to actually get to where it needs to be.
That's pretty standard, though, on the Jace, right? You tend to want to get the Serrated Dirk early in order to actually have laning power, because if you go for the tier first, you just give up so much early pressure. And Philip, I mean, I think if he went for the tier... Oh, he's okay. If he went for the tier, he would have had a little bit of issues in this lane, but with this early Serrated Dirk, you know, should be able to continue building up a small advantage for a little while longer. But at the same time, Dragon going over towards the side of Evil Geniuses, and they're going to be continuing to build up these small advantages kind of just about everywhere but top lane.
You know, that was actually a good example of why Janna with Glacial Augment is really powerful. Did you see how long that zone control from the Glacial was actually around in the Dragon Pit? Imagine now if there was actually a fight by the side of FlyQuest to actually capitalize on it. That's a lot of slow that you get, plus the damage reduction for your teammates.
Yeah. And now, as we see, I mean, look at how long that lasts.
Look at it! It's, oh my god.
It lasts for forever.
It does.
The other big thing that it does is it also reduces damage from your enemies to everybody but you, right? It makes them do less damage to everybody on your team. And for somebody like Janna, who's hopefully standing far enough back that they aren't worried about getting jumped on, should be A-okay.
Tomio was hoping to be able to steal away that Scuttle Crab, but it looks like he might have greeted for it. You got to be careful the Shockwave coming in from Soligo, but with a Crescent Strike already utilized, they're looking for the damage. They got the True Shot Barrage, not going to be able to pick up the kill, though, onto Tomio. Instead, it's going to be the, a dodge away coming in from Philip, away from the Shockwave, but the re-engage coming in from Tomio into the backline. He will trade his life for one, but now Yuji's got to get out of there. He's already used Flash. It's going to be the ultimatum laid down by 30. Spyrex has got no mana to speak of to be able to back up his jungler, so he has to forfeit the 1-for-2 again.
Wow, yet again, as you said, another 2-for-1 trade going in favor of Evil Geniuses, and they're not the cleanest kind of fights. They are scrappy every single one of these times we've been seeing these teams fight early on. It has been back and forth as people try and leverage different ways to actually win, but it will end up meaning that Soligo, now with double buffs, already built up a 20 CS lead by himself, should be able to continue pushing around Spyrex, and will be accelerated in this upcoming fight.
We take a look at this replay, and it was so close for Tomio, and also a great dodge from Philip. But the problem was, Spyrex has no mana. What can he do to back him up?
Nothing. He can auto-attack,
but
Victor's auto-attacks are not particularly exciting, so he has to just kind of back away. Now that he's got the Lost Chapter, he shouldn't have that issue again in the future, but it's already going to be giving up this Rift Herald, and we've already talked about how close these fights have been. Giving over that bit of extra gold to the members of Evil Geniuses makes FlyQuest's job harder next time.
It does, and here we're getting these slow incremental leads for the side of Evil Geniuses, even if it hasn't really netted an actual gold lead. It's gotten them the Ocean Dragon. They've gotten themselves the Rift Herald. Both neutral objectives are secured by them, as well as having proper members such as Soligo, who was so pivotal last time for the win that Evil Geniuses got. Is now 1-0-1. He's getting a little bit more gold funneled into his pockets.
A little bit of extra gold will hopefully help, right? I mean, he had the best ult of the game, but potentially of the day.
Of the day? I mean, I'm already... It might be early, but I'm going to go with the season.
Okay, well, for now, yeah. I think it is an early contender for that award. But Philip, no flash. Got to be careful. Good knockback onto Surdy. And look at the damage coming in from Philip right there. He's able to heal up with the Vampiric Scepter, but that's why Tomio, with the Q, stabs the heart of Philip. just barely enough mana there at the end. And now, because Yuji's on the opposite side of the map, there is no play coming out from the other side. Kaori is going to be able to use this in order to clear out as much of the wave as he can. Yuji's also spotted out. This is a very difficult dive for them to go for. It should just be a clean top lane turret take coming off for Evil Genesis.
No, I didn't even think of that. Why this Jhin is actually really good into Jhin, too. Jhin doesn't really move, does he, once he uses the Curtain Call? And Diamond puts a shield on himself, can walk up, tornado down. It's like, yeah, we dare you to use that Curtain Call consistently.
They're saving the Rift Trial. I didn't even notice that Tomio had just fully backed.
Yeah.
These two champions definitely could have taken that structure if they had wanted to, and they still would have been able to back in time for the Dragon. So I'm a little bit surprised that they haven't, but it does mean that you can go for a repeat of that play, because the flash of Philip is going to be on a much longer cooldown than the Cataclysm coming out from Tomio. And Tomio, I don't think Cataclysm will be up right at the beginning of this Dragon, but it will be up shortly after.
I'm almost wondering if that is the reason why they didn't use the Rift Herald there. Tomio getting the empowered recall, can get himself back on the map a little bit quicker, and then if he needs to, he can revisit the top lane. He knows that there's always going to be a lane they can bully from Philip. It forces Philip also to have to stay in this top lane to make sure that Surdy just does not take the tower outright without the need of the Rift Herald.
Well, he's currently left alone up top lane, as we see the black squares signifying that, oh, wait, they don't have the Unleashed teleport yet. They become unblack squares. That's right. I have that backwards. Don't worry about it. But Yuji is going to be here anyway. We still see both top laners with the teleports available if they want to join. Surdy has a completed Mythic, as does Philip, but that's not going to help them if they're not here.
Drags away. Gets himself out of that glacial sphere. Does not want to have that damage reduction, especially when he's trying to do a lot of damage himself. But Philip takes a lot of damage from Surdy. Tries to go for the duel again. Does actually get a lot of damage to stick to this Camille, but it can be really devastating if he gets caught out by Tomio, who's revisiting that top lane.
And if they go down this time, it'll definitely be a turret, and he doesn't even need to go down. They're going to be dropping this Rift Herald anyway, giving over the full structure. And Tomio, completely uncontested at the moment, is going to be taking away a couple of camps, while Yuji, at the bottom side, Surdy goes in.
Well, he's got this fight onto Surdy,
Good
but
dodge.
look who's here. Nice use of Monsoon to make sure there's nobody to kill Philip.
Great couple of tools coming out from both sides, right? We saw Surdy go intangible with his ultimate, and then Diamond making sure that Skytech and Tomio could not come in. So it ultimately is just a turret that goes down. Philip is able to stay alive due to some good play. And now Yuji, he's spawed out. I wonder if Kaori is going to stick around, knowing that Xinjiao is around. Yep, not going to leave.
No, Diamond's still here in this top lane, getting a lot of damage onto Surdy, who's used the exhaust as well to make sure they can get a little bit. But the Cataclysm dunk, flash away from Diamond, follow up two with the tactical sweep. Well, even though you had a tornado, wasn't enough to stop Tomio.
Crazy stuff, and this is kind of what we're seeing from the Camille matchup. It gets a lot better later on once you're past the early laning phase. We were looking at a 20 CS deficit for Surdy previously. Now he's basically back to even. I guarantee he's up in gold based on the number of plates
Josh,
and the turret that
now
they
I
picked
get why the chrono break happened, because we had to look at the script and see how game 2 is going. Because look at this play. Who gets the kills in this play, Josh?
Tomio?
Tomio.
And Surdy?
I'm more looking at Tomio. He's now 4-1-1 on this Jarvan. It's an easy dive, too. Last game, Surdy struggled in the 1v1 fight against Philip in the early stages of the game. This time, this is the Surdy we've been waiting for. This is the Surdy we've been expecting all season long. And sure, it's only week 2, but now we're getting to see the Surdy we know and love.
Welcome back. The other thing that I love to see coming out from Surdy is the fact that, remember how we were talking about Death's Dance doesn't allow you to split push against Victor? He's not making the same mistake again. He's going for the Sterix so that even though it might be slightly less useful going up against Jace, now he is a bit more agnostic as to who he's going to be split pushing against. He is okay with taking fights up against Victor because that shield and the HP don't care if you're doing magic damage or physical damage.
No, they don't. It's nice to have to be able to fight against either Victor or Jace. Doesn't matter which arcane character you're facing off against, you're going to be able to duel against both of them. And in fact, wait, why haven't we seen Camille in arcane yet? She should be in it if you think about it.
Good question. True, but Philip's flash is just now
coming up. Cataclysm. That's going to be a lot of bouncy house there for poor Philip. A killing spree for Tomio. And like I said, the Chrono Break was really for the players to be able to read the script because now we've got a fed jungler.
Very fed jungler. 5-1. Game 2 has been the story of the red side junglers, like you said. XU looking very, very good to start off the day. And now we're getting Tomio to finish it off. But the game isn't over just quite yet. It is a tall task for these to come back, but it is still possible for them. Victor scales very well. Ezreal can be hard for them to actually get to, and another Rift Herald going over to FlyQuest does mean that even though this turret drops, it will probably not be uncontested.
In the last game, we looked towards Spyrex. Last game, they had really built that game up to support Victor and to support Spyrex, and he was looking good until that shockwave happened. It was looking like he was going to be able to claw that game back for FlyQuest. Here, that could be another contingency plan for FlyQuest. Philip, 1-5 top lane, who cares? Make sure you're getting more gold into this Victor, that he's not falling too far behind Saligo. Same thing for Tomo. He's 0-0-1 on Ezreal, but he's remaining relatively even against Cowrie, despite the fact that they lost that tier 1 turret in the bot lane.
That's the big thing, right? Tomo, Cowrie remaining relatively even. I think the fact that we are seeing a very different style of build coming through as well from Tomo, not going for Divine Sunderer, not going for the Trinity Force, instead going for the Essence Reaver, signifies that we're likely going to be seeing a crown come through on this Ezreal, which will make him very difficult for Tomio, Surdy, and Saligo to actually burst down. And Surdy,
and look at the damage that comes in from Spyrex. Doesn't matter if you have a Fade, so that's not a Sterix built up yet. No shield going to be available for Surdy, so that's why he has to bail out of the fight completely. But we see a fight continuing in the mid lane. Tomo just taking a little bit of damage, doesn't have very much mana, and Surdy goes back into the top lane. Gravity Field dodged away by a nice ultimatum, but Spyrex has got a lot of damage. He's got to be careful, though. He's taken down in the 1v1 kill. Surdy now has to fight against Philip. 1-5 Jace. He's got no damage, though. Look at the damage coming in from Surdy. The backup coming in from Diamond as well with the Shock Blast on top of him. He's healing up. It's an exhaust, though. It will save Philip's life, only just barely, as now they try to chase down the remaining members of FlyQuest, looking for that nice tornado to disengage Toby on Skytech.
Okay, Cowrie, is he going to open up the curtain call?
He goes here too. Flash, shockwave, flashed away. They got the curtain call opened up wide. 1 tick, 2 tick, 3 tick, 4. All onto Yuji, so it doesn't net them a single kill.
That's okay, though. Going to be finding the solo kill coming out for Surdy is a big statement for how the rest of the game is going to be going, right? Camille coming alive, Surdy coming alive, and also with so many buttons pressed like right before the dragon, suddenly it's not exactly obvious who's actually going to be able to pick this up. Spyrex has his ultimate coming up very soon, but Tomio still has the Cataclysm available, and as Evil Geniuses are here first, that becomes a very tall task for FlyQuest to try and move in, and Spyrex already moving up at the top lane with teleport admittedly,
and
but
again,
still not
I
here.
just want to praise Surdy with how he's wait a minute, wait. I was just about to praise him.
Wait.
That's not a Sterix.
No, it is not. You want to tell us about this? This is definitely more of a magical item.
I like it. You know what, Surdy? I respect. He's like, I don't want to be a part of fights. I'm going to be in the split push game. I'm in the side lane. You want to fight against me? Well, now my minions are going to be able to push harder, and I'm going to be able to fight against you in the 1v1. As Saligo, he gets himself in a little bit of trouble with no mana to really speak of and no shockwave available so they can get the kill. It's going to be at the trade of the dragon at the bot lane.
But it's going to be traded, right? All over the map. We are seeing this turret go down for a turret on the opposite side of the map. And with the Rift Herald getting dropped, there's a big little base race coming on right now. Evil Geniuses still not backing away because they can't contest it. And at the same time, in the mid lane, Ezreal's still pushing. So this inhibitor should be cracked.
Guys, that might be a charge onto a Nexus turret. Just under 20 minutes, they were able to get the inhibitor. And unless Skytech can actually knock down Shelly, he will barely be able to actually stop the charge from going through onto a Nexus turret just under 20 minutes. But there's a lot that's been picked up by FlyQuest all from this play.
Big trade across the map. We saw a lot of structures go down. We saw the second turret bottom went down for FlyQuest, but they got the mid lane outer, the top lane inner, and the top lane inhibitor turret and inhibitor. So lots of structures going down suddenly means this map is super lopsided, right? FlyQuest have taken a lot of turrets topside, but they've actually taken 0 on the bottom side. So they have a very clear path to continue stacking vision in the top side in order to get Baron, but it's not necessarily as obvious for them to necessarily just walk into EG's blue side of the map in order to create pressure around Dragon.
We have another Cloud Rift here. And correct me if I'm wrong, did they change the Cloud Dragons to give movement speed again? When did they change?
Yeah.
When did they
It doesn't
change?
give
When did they
CDR.
change
It
that?
doesn't give ult
Look,
CDR
I have a bit of old man brain here, boomer brain. So I'm trying to remember that. Yeah, look,
Boomer
I know
brain.
I'm old. I played this game back when the dragon used to just give you gold, and it wasn't really much more than that. So it's hard for me to remember everything in the game. I remember what happened in Season 1 more than I remember what happens in Season 12.
Uh-oh.
He's fine. Wait. Oh, maybe Yuji's down. That's a Crescent Strike used. TP behind. That's a lot of damage out of Surdy. Here's going to be the true shot barrage, getting a lot of damage onto Surdy, but they're going to be able to trade it 1-for-1 at the moment. But they got the bouncy castle coming in onto poor Spyrex. He's still alive, though. It's Skytech's taken out by Philip.
This is one of the dangers of the EG comp. Oh,
not that at all. That
What?
huge shield from the Eclipse pretty much made it look like Saligo did no damage to Philip.
Basically none whatsoever, but the big difference here, the big scary thing that we have to pay attention to is the fact that Evil Geniuses, when you have Surdy and Tomio going forward, it's really, really difficult for Kaori and Saligo to keep up. It's even difficult sometimes for Skytech to try and keep up in these fights, and we saw how far forward they were, meant that it was almost impossible for Saligo and Kaori to maintain part in that fight, and without the current call available at a range too great even for that, Kaori wasn't able to participate, and he's been one of the big standout players that we've been looking at. Again, coming over from Turkey, trying to make a name for himself as the
If you
new
look at
Cole.
this replay, too, from the side of FlyQuest, where it was a good disengage, re-engage. This is what we kind of talked about. But it came to the draft that they had. When you have something like a Janna, what you're able to absorb and then push back. Even though it seemed at first like EG were the ones with the upper hand, it's hard to actually fight against someone like Diamond if he lands these tornadoes and makes sure that the Glacial Augment proc is going to come through. So this is why I look at FlyQuest and I look at what they're able to accomplish. It's pretty much just mitigating. You talked about the active defense, Josh, but I don't know if I'm necessarily sold on it. But you can see the power that it has. As right there, Philip, he's not passive at all with that offense.
We got to talk about the fact that this is a Jace magical. Even though the fact that it started off the game 1 and 5 doesn't change the fact that most of his damage comes from items, right? And once he gets those items, he's still going to be doing a ton of damage regardless of how far behind he is. And with these 2 items completed, unless you have a lot of armor, you're not necessarily going to be surviving against this kind of raw burst that Jace is always going to have. So this is part of why we're seeing he's still having some success in a lot of these skirmishes, because his damage hasn't changed. It just came online later.
Yeah, I mean, he got hard camped in the top lane. Now he's got himself that Eclipse. He's got the Manamuna nearly completed into the Muramana. Just one more hit on a minion or a champion. He's going to have that completed. Has the Caulfield's Warhammer too. So he's starting to really hurt these members of EG, but they have to make sure that they are still getting the kills like that. You can't have a fight like that, EG, because FlyQuest are able to kite you back so well, and Surdy's in the back line, but what can he do when no teammates are there to back him up?
And remember what we said about how far forward they got? There is no way. Saligo wasn't even there.
Nope.
Right? That's not necessarily on Saligo for that fight going awry not being there. It's more on Tomio and Surdy not waiting for him to actually show up, and it's going to be this Baron going over towards the side of FlyQuest. Yeah, this dragon should be going over to Evil Geniuses, but it's not going to be nearly as impactful. The Cloud Soul is not that exciting for this kind of team, right? Jin literally roots himself in place when he uses his ultimate. Jarvan is still stuck inside his own Cataclysm, so FlyQuest very, very happy to make this trade, and Evil Geniuses, it looked really good earlier, but we might need to see another best ults in A coming out from Saligo if they want to win.
And you saw right there, Skytech, he tried to engage, but he just is too squishy. He got blown up before he even had the grand entrance onto Diamond. He wasn't able to do anything in that fight.
Nothing.
Nada.
That's what the redundant engage is for, right? In theory, you give up one, but the engage is strong enough that immediately after, you are okay. Surdy, oh, that is sad. Throws down the sweeper and immediately the ward dies afterwards. But FlyQuest now with the Baron. Remember what we said last time. They have the siege comp and they are forcing their opponents to siege. So, Evil Geniuses, they can try and find a flank, but unfortunately for them, this isn't a hex map. There aren't going to be easy flank gates in order to allow them to get behind their opponents. Instead, they're going to have to play their opponent's game, and Surdy, with the Hull Breaker, doesn't really like grouping.
No, he wants to be in the side lane, but he can't when there's a Baron
Skytech.
on the heads of FlyQuest. Nice engage coming in from Skytech with the Shockwave on only one member. It's Tomo. He's kind of got it back. He's got himself golden at least with the Glacial Augment proc onto Tomio. A lot of damage on top of him. They're going to be able to trade a 2-for-1 at the moment with a little bit of damage onto the other members. So you got to wait it out. Here's the curtain call. Body blocked by Yuji. One's taken by Tomo, but he doesn't really care.
Surdy also gets the solo kill into Philip on the other side of the map, so it's not all doom and gloom right now for Evil Geniuses. We don't have Vex on the map, and there is a teleport available for Surdy, but nothing to teleport to, unfortunately. So it will be more damage going on to structures of Evil Geniuses, and FlyQuest also going to eat their jungle on the way out. So game still feels fairly even. This is their closest Game 2 so far of the day, even with Tomio jumping out to 5-1.
Okay, well, yeah, we look at what we've had in the past already. Of course, it's the closest one we've seen on the Academy broadcast. Well, the other stream might have had closer Game 2s. Ours have just been one-sided. Here, we got a little bit of a lead for FlyQuest, which is the first time we've seen the blue side with the lead in Game 2 this entire day. And the fact that this is reminiscent of what had happened in Game 1. The only difference is when FlyQuest had gotten themselves the Baron, they were able to get a lot of gold back to swing it to be even. Here, they've actually managed themselves, even if it's only 1,000 gold, it's still a gold lead over EG.
Yeah, but, you know, to do it right back, it's only technically a gold lead, right? Like, this is a kind of composition, the kind of game where it is always going to be on a knife's edge unless one of these teams comes up with a huge, huge lead, just based on the way their compositions actually function. It is, you know, these compositions do opposite things. And if one of them is able to leverage their composition, it's going to mean they're winning. Unfortunately, for Evil Geniuses, they haven't found a good engage in a long time at this point. They've constantly been going in with fewer members than their opponents, and this Janna that we already identified was going to be really pivotal in whether or not they were going to find success has been piloted really well so far by Diamond.
It's been doing a good job at disengaging, keeping his back line alive, and then you look at what his back line has built. That's that Crown of the Shattered Queen that you had called for Tomo in his inventory. Completed Muramana on top of it all, so he's going to be able to do a lot of damage from range without really running out of mana. He's got a blue buff too!
He's never going to stop throwing out these Mystic Shots, Magical, and it's very difficult because of how long of a range that is, and then he can also Arcane Shift, and sometimes we'll have Flash on top of that. FlyQuest really have a lot of control over when these fights actually happen because they're constantly going to be poking in the meantime. You know, that was probably one of the few opportunities where Evil Geniuses could have gone for something, but once bitten, twice shy. They don't want to go for something when they don't see where so many members of FlyQuest actually are.
Phillips hanging out in the lack of vision that EG have. Fyrex trying to bait in any member of EG to fight him. Now that they've called Yuji up here, they've noticed that Surdy was by himself. They're going to force him away from this inhibitor that is exposed and easy for the taking out of FlyQuest.
Inhibitor goes down. Like you said, not a lot of contest coming through whatsoever. I mean, there is a Dragon Soul coming up in 30 seconds, but Evil Geniuses...
Soul. It's not like it's
a Cloud Soul. It doesn't matter.
Right. It's not something that
game.
FlyQuest really cared too much about, because like you said, it's already difficult enough for EG to get into the backline. That little bit of movement speed isn't like before, where it actually is going to be really impactful. They can know that there's going to be these immobile carries on the side of FlyQuest. You got Tomo on Ezreal. This is why I wanted to see the Ezreal in Game 1. We can see how much better it is when it comes to hiding back, to being able to keep himself alive and not really having to worry about the engaged dive from Surdy, Tomio, and Skytech.
So here we're going to see that actually come to fruition. Skytech having to use the Grand Entrance away, and I think Evil Geniuses should get this.
Good, but Yuji's right by him. There is going to be the smite. Actually, not even the smite
so
secure.
fast.
It was the crit secure from Cowrie. Flag and drag away from Tomio, but the inside track is now given over to FlyQuest to make sure that they can lord control over this top quadrant of the map like they did last game.
Evil Geniuses are so fast at this point, Magical. They're looking for ways to try and move around, and I think the one thing that they want with the soul is not even the soul, which, like, all things equal, you obviously prefer having the soul to not having the soul, but what they really want is the Elder Dragon to spawn.
Yeah.
They need a way to actually kind of flip for the game, because it is so hard for them to actually find any of these fights, and it feels like they've kind of stopped looking. and I feel like that's going to be the one thing that can bring them out of the base, and also, you know, making sure that they don't lose this Baron. But the Elder Dragon is something that can allow them to win a lot more easily than even stealing this
I
Baron.
almost feel like FlyQuest wanted that as well. You can see how they've been baiting in this fight, waiting it out. That's TP in from Surdy
Yeah,
to
Surdy's
get the
bot.
inhibitor.
He's
not
bot.
even trying to join this fight. They don't even realize that he is in the bot lane. They now have been able to call that. Say, hey, we need someone to recall to be able to contend against him. True Shot Barrage getting a lot of damage with the Shockwave onto two members, but it's going to be Tomo that they focus on. They're going to be able to trade a 1-for-1. They're going to be able to make it 2, in fact, for Cowrie.
Surdy's also in the bottom lane. Oh my god, no way.
They're going for the YOLO play right here. They've got a lot of damage. They got the kill onto Philip. Nobody's here to protect. It's going to be a flash in for coming in from Spyrex onto Soligo, getting the kill as well with the gravity field onto Surdy, using the hookshot back in. Damage onto Spyrex, but he's got to be careful. He's gone golden to be able to survive just a little bit longer, and you can see the damage coming in from both of them.
Shield.
They're both alive, but the game continues. The game is not over, even though EG tried to throw the Hail Mary.
Absolutely insane line coming out from the members of Evil Geniuses. They end up finding another big shockwave from Soligo. And as we pay attention to this, remember, Surdy is already teleported down to the bot lane. This is Evil Geniuses trying to buy time. Tomio trying to figure out what Philip is up to. And the only thing that convinces them to come back is a great shockwave catching out the two squishiest members here on FlyQuest, allowing them to take them down, and then thinking they found checkmate, Evil Geniuses with the teleport go in, and they are so close. Unfortunately, Soligo just takes too much damage. Surdy already used the Hextech ultimatum and can't dodge out, and even here, the amount of damage he's able to put out is almost enough to take down Spyrex. Just barely not enough, and any of those plays going wrong from either side could have ended the game.
But still, it's the hero play from Spyrex. Not only does he get the kill onto Sligo, but nearly killing Surdy. Even though Surdy, too, it looked dicey. It looked back and forth between both of them. The fact that Spyrex was able to force him out of the base and keep all the Nexus turrets alive is what keeps FlyQuest in this game and still in the driver's seat.
Okay. We're also seeing that the poke coming out from Philip and Tomo not necessarily amounting to all that much at the moment. There's a big wave.
And not at the moment, at least. And when you look at how they're going to make sure this sticks, you look towards the items that they have right now. With the Sorelda's Grudge completed by Tomo, it's going to help them get a little bit more of the slow, the follow-up that can come in from Spyrex, from Yuji, from Philip. It'll all be nice. But Surdy has himself a Guardian's Angel as well as that Hullbreaker. He was already hard enough to kill before, and if he stays in these side lanes, it's going to be even more difficult to actually kill him.
But they can't leave him alone in the side lanes, right? They're going to be forcing him to group up. Evil Genius is coming in from multiple angles. Skytech going for a long flank.
He will be spotted out. He's far away. Shockwave not going to connect onto anybody just yet. Instead, it's going to be the kill they get onto Skytech with the Cataclysm. That's the Shockwave you need, but they're still all alive. It's only kill on Diamond. They got the turnaround. There they go. They found the targets they need to. Spyrex goes to be able to survive, but it's all Surdy. He's cleaning up house for EG. They will get the ace with only the support falling.
It's the same game again. It's the same picture, Magical. We saw this game happen before. Surdy and Soligo coming in at the very end. Tomio finding his way into the game, and they find another engage in the same place at almost the exact same time, Magical, and it's going to result in Evil Geniuses closing us out with a 5th 2-0, our 10th 2-0 over the course of 2 days of Academy. Everything has been decisive, and everybody has constantly been finding their wins.
2-0s across the board, and there, unlike in Game 1 where Soligo Shockwave on 4 members that won them the game, that was a team effort from every member on EG. The flank from Skytech, the focus that then had to get drawn onto him so they couldn't get the engage, then Surdy cleaning up everyone. It was great coming in from EG.
Great stuff coming through just across the board. Just seeing what they were able to come together and bring all of their players to the forefront yet again just reminds me that this team, while they've been struggling, while they were struggling last week, are suddenly back to 3-3. They are 50% on the total season thus far and still have a lot of time to improve. I think what we've been seeing from Evil Geniuses so far have a lot of possibility to continue improving and start beating the better teams.
All right, with another 2-0 in the books, 5 across the board here for Week 2, Day 1. We might as well bring back our lovely host in Mazel and have him help break down this game. Not just this game, but this entire day. Hi.
Break it down for us, Mazel.
I can't hear. There we go.
There we go. Now you hear me. Yeah, welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys for the reintroduction here. What a fun cast and what a fun day we had. Do just want to bring up the renewed schedule, I guess, what we looked through today. We had 3 series on the day on stream A, and then we also had 2 series on stream B. Hopefully we'll be able to bring that up here in just a moment. But what a turnaround. What, like, name of the game is speed, apparently, for EG. And so we don't have today's results, but you can check that out on LOL Esports. But we will be looking at tomorrow's games. Is there anything here, guys, that stands out to you?
I mean, I got to look at that final series of the day. Team Liquid Academy, Dignitas Academy. Team Liquid were able to get a 2-0 today, and now that they have Hayri playing for the team, they got him back here.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see how they're going to do against Dignitas, because Dignitas is one of these teams that is really hypey. It's fun to watch them, and their early game is always exciting. But the thing is, I'm curious to see how someone like Darkwings is going to do up against a tenured player such as Hayri.
And, you know, he has a better win streak than Bjergsen in Academy, just saying. Anyways, your actual analysis, Joe.
True. Guys, the top 2 teams are currently playing as our first game tomorrow. Oh, excuse me. I was stuck. I have my logos backwards. C9 versus 100 Thieves. Not quite as hype as the CLG versus 100 Thieves that I initially read that is, but still, nonetheless, I'm still really looking forward.
I was actually really excited about that one.
I was excited too, but it's still a good game. But imagine CLG versus 100 Thieves. They're both 5-1 right now. Instead, we're gonna have to split them up, break them up. We're gonna come back to that storyline later on as to how these 2 teams are going to be doing. But Cloud9, you know, as they start to get more of their players to come back and they go back to the full strength that they know or that we always knew they were going to be at, as this team that was supposed to provide great scrims for the LCS roster, going up against 100 Thieves, who has been having a lot of success, it should be a continued showing of excellence for both rosters. And honestly, it's looking to be
I'm throwing it out to the Dig boys against TL. I know you had already talked about it, Magical, but that one's going to be insane as well. So just a lot of really good games tomorrow. We had a lot of really good games today. Excited to get through. I can't believe it's already halfway through week 2, but get through week 2 and really see these teams establish themselves, right? Like, we are starting to see what this season is going to look like as we get into it.
Yeah. We are 1/6 of the way through the season, right? Everybody's going to be playing 4 games against every team in a double round robin of best of 2. So as everybody has currently played 6 games, you know, people are starting to see the very beginning of shaking out into where teams are going to be across the table. But it's not necessarily all that much, right? You still have a lot of time. Even the lowest ranked teams currently, like FlyQuest, is still looking to pick up some of their wins, are still going to have plenty of time to build themselves back up and have some success.
Exactly that. Well, guys, it was a fun day. It was a fun last series. Had a little bit of longer series because of that chrono break in our second game, but still not too shabby. You know, finishing right before dinner time. And just want to get your guys' last thoughts here on the day. Is there anybody who truly stood out to you today? Go with Josie first.
Well, honestly, the junglers, right? XU, Kenvi looked really, really good in both of our first and second series. And then Saligo is kind of my third answer. So I'm kind of cheating, Magical, by picking kind of like my MVPs for all 3 series.
Say, junglers in general, I think actually should all get a reward, because Tomio looked pretty good in that series as well. His engages with Saligo behind him were really nice, especially that game 1. Game 2, he was able to get a good lead for himself. But honestly, I gotta give a lot of credit to every jungler that we saw in our victories today.
All right, more jungle love. Gotta appreciate that. Hope you junglers are watching out there. You got a lot of love from the desk here today. But that's gonna be it for us today. It was an absolutely fun day, but we'll be right back here, same place, same time tomorrow. So make sure you're there, and we'll see you next time on Summoner's Rift.
Woohoo! Alright, I'm shutting down.